Welcome back to another exciting session on Next Generation Now Youth Dialogues. If you're just joining us, we're coming to you live from Geneva, where hundreds of young changemakers from around the world have come together for the Global Shapers Annual Summit. Earlier today, we explored how institutions can move beyond symbolic youth inclusion and move towards genuine intergenerational partnership. You can watch the recording on our LinkedIn if you've missed it.
Before we begin our next panel discussion, we want to take a short moment to answering some of the most frequently asked questions about the Global Shapers community. To do this, we're going to hear from two community champions, Saurabh Shah and Justin Liris-Bakai. Over to you.
Hi there. Welcome to the conversation where we answer your burning questions about the Global Shapers community. My name is Saurabh Shah. I'm the community champion for North India and Nepal, and I am joined by my colleague.
Hi, I'm Justine Bakai. I'm the community champion for the Maritime Southeast Asian region. I also call myself the Maritime Sea Mermaid. I really want to ask you now, because you said burning questions, and we have to go straight away. What is the Global Shapers community?
Ooh. The Global Shapers community is a network of youth leaders between the ages of 18 and 30. We're working off of 452 city-based hubs across the world, from Tashkent to Tokyo, representing over 11,000 young leaders that are delivering impact in their communities. Now, I think that leads us to the next question, which is, what is a hub and how does it work?
You talk about young leaders. These are the ones we call shapers, like us. And a hub basically are city-based teams composed of shapers working on projects and making impact in their own local communities. But who is eligible to apply as a shaper?
Ooh, that's a tough question from the Maritime Mermaid. You have to be a youth between the ages of 18 and 27 at the time of application and acceptance. You don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to be a rock star. You don't have to have massive achievements. Only the desire and the drive to deliver change in your community. Now that leads us to the other important question of, how do you actually apply?
Oh, it's pretty straightforward. It was different during our time, but nowadays it's so easy. Go to globalshapers.org and look for the nearest hub to you. And they have different recruitment processes. So you gotta check that out. You have to check their websites, find their social media accounts, and they do announce when they're open for applications. But what would you say to someone who thinks they're not, good enough to apply? And that we get that question a lot.
Yeah, and that was me. I thought I wasn't good enough to apply because I saw so many really talented, driven people there. All you need is the drive to deliver impact, and you can apply. Shapers is the place for you to grow. It will help you grow. So do apply. Mm-hmm. Now, that leads to the other question of, does being a shaper actually take up a lot of time?
Oh, geez, how do I answer this? It's a volunteer organization. It's pretty flexible, you know that. We're not requiring you to be here 40 hours a week, right? It's really about the meaningful contribution. You put in a few hours of your time every month to lead a project, support a project, or even just join any activity that your hub has, and you're already doing your part.
Exactly, and at some point it becomes some of my best friends are from the community, so you just want to be around the people that are there, and you want to hang out with them. So that's the best part about this community. So it's not about the hours; it's just about being with the people that you really like.
Exactly, you become friends with these amazing volunteers. But what does a volunteer in the shaper context actually mean? Well,
there is a difference. The Global Shapers community is a network of youth leaders. So everyone there is a leader, and it's a very horizontal landscape in which you work with other youth leaders to actually drive and accelerate positive change in your communities, as opposed to a volunteer where you could be in a traditional hierarchical structure, working again under someone. I think now maybe we go to the most burning question. You want to be a shaper, you want to apply, but what if your city does not have a hub?
Oh, geez. It is not a dead end. You, again, go to globalshapers.org and see if there's a hub in your city. And if there's none, find the nearest hub. I'm sure you can apply there. They will be happy to welcome you there. And yeah, reach out to them, basically. It's pretty straightforward as well. Well, you know, I've been in this community for a long time now. I've been a shaper since 2018, became a curator, and now a community champion. What do you think is the best part of being a shaper? I do have an answer, but want to know yours as well.
Well, one of the things is that I joined in 2018 as well, so we're buddies in that way. But I think there's so many different things. If I was to pick one, I think it would be the fact that Global Shapers community is a family of leaders that gives you the safe space, the support to fail, and then to stand up again and to do better. So I don't think there's a space like that anywhere where you feel this supported by your fellow leaders. Now, after all of those questions, the most important one now, why should someone become a global shaper?
Oh, apart from, as you mentioned, being part of this global family, you walk into a room in different cities and you instantly have a support system. Whether you go to New York, Manila, or even the remotest parts of the country wherein a hub is present, you instantly have a support system. And these people become your friends for life. I could say that confidently because they truly are. But to put it simply, it's about the friendship, it's about the projects that we make. And if you want to stop waiting for change, this is going to sound cliche, but it is true. If you want to stop waiting for change and actually start making it, you become a shaper. And we want to encourage you all to apply. And I hope we get to see you in the community real soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh and Justin. That was very helpful. As a global shaper myself, I resonated a lot with what Justin and Saurabh shared. I would encourage other young leaders to also check, as mentioned, on the Global Shapers website to find the nearest hub. That's also how I joined the Global Shapers community. I was in Beijing. I was looking to try to facilitate different events, and I was able to reach out to some of the organizers. And they were actually the Global Shapers community organizing different events for expats in China. So I really encourage to continue the conversation, and that's how I got to know the people. And later on, when they were recruiting, I also applied and was able to join. And now I'm part of this global community of young changemakers who are now together here, 450 global shapers in Geneva, to signal the positive change for the future. So now you've learned if you're also a young person eligible to be a global shaper, now you know how to kickstart the process.
Awesome. So with this, we're going to turn our attention to another challenge that requires not just intergenerational collaboration, but action across diverse areas. Few issues shape the future as profoundly as the health of our planet. Climate change affects economies, communities, ecosystems, and livelihoods around the world. But beyond the science, policy, and data, it's also a deeply human issue.
Yes, for many people, particularly younger generations, climate change influences how they think about their future. It shapes where they choose to live, what careers they pursue, and how they engage with their communities. It can inspire action, but it can also create uncertainty and anxiety.
I totally agree with you. And the challenge before us is actually not just environmental, it's also social, emotional, and intergenerational. In our next conversation, we'll look at how we can really transform these concerns that young people have into action, and also we'll look at how to move from anxiety to true agency.
And perhaps most importantly, what kind of planet do we want future generations to inherit? That is where the Youth Pulse survey comes in. Make sure to let us know the future that matters to you. You'll see the QR code on the screen. Feel free to scan it and tell us your thoughts on what needs to be included in the future discussion around the future. Well, now it's time for our next session, which will be moderated by Rumaita Al-Busaidi, a member of the Global Shapers Foundation Board, an Omani scientist, and environmental advocate. From co-launching the world's first liquid hydrogen corridor to leading community climate action, Rumaitha brings both deep expertise and hands-on experience to the conversation. So over to you, Rumaitha.
Thank you so much, Eric. And it is an absolute pleasure to have this panel discussion where we're discussing about anxiety in its specifics. And maybe what I will try to do is something a bit strange in a conversation that talks about the state of the planet. I want to actually anchor on the word hope. And it might be counterintuitive a bit when we're talking about something that we hear a lot of words of doom and gloom and despair and so on. But I think anchoring on hope, and hopefully by the end of the dialogue here, that word will earn its place in the conversation. Now, most of us, when we talk about specifically the discussion on climate and discussion on the planet itself, we look at the numbers, we look at the timelines, we look at a lot of things that really cause us a lot of overwhelm. And then we realize very quickly that it is actually asking us to do something much more harder, and that is what action I can do as a person as well to ensure that I bring in a glimmer of hope. And what we have done is gather 3 people who have actually understood the weight of that data and transformed it into work that has been phenomenal. So I'll bring in our panelists for now. Start off with Paul Rose. We found out that we're actually good friends through a common friend, and he's done a lot of work in both places that I actually have been, be it in the Antarctic ice and in the deserts of Oman. So Paul, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's great to be here, Amata. Thanks very much. And I love it that we're connected by Oman and Antarctica.
I know, such a small world. And I think you know this now, that Paul is actually an Antarctic and Arctic explorer, a broadcaster, and also the head of the National Geographic Pristine Seas. As well as Chiara, a fellow global shaper, Chiara Sweeney from the Munich Hub. She also leads in the UNIS Environment Hub and is one of the lead shapers for the shapers behind Plastic Action.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to represent the shapers community and work especially that we're driving on this new flagship initiative for Shapers for Plastic Action.
And last but not least, the forum's very own Mr. Giron, Alfredo Giron, who leads the Ocean Action Agenda, but also something that I wish I had when I was a marine scientist early in life. He has founded the Early Professionals Oceans Network. And what a pleasure to have you with us, joining us and giving us some of the expertise and things that the forum is also doing when it comes to bringing in all the stakeholders pertaining to oceans.
Thank you so much, Rumi, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I think that one of the things that sometimes we are lacking on the table is the voice of the youth. And I think the Shapers have done an excellent job for many, many years now to do that. And I'm just really happy to be able to serve as a bridge sometimes between that.
It's a pleasure to have you all 3. And it's a truly intergenerational panel, I would say, to have like different factions of different age groups as well with us in this panel who have a lot of passion when it comes to also protecting the oceans. So maybe I'll go back to the word of the day, hopefully, which is hope, and bring us back to how we all started in this realm of protecting the planet. And I think for a lot of us, it wasn't a policy paper, it wasn't data, it wasn't numbers that actually pushed us to do a lot of the work that we're doing. It was a childhood memory of sorts that really pushed and really galvanized us towards that action. Maybe I'll share my story before I open it up to Paul, and then we can just hear from Chiara and Alfredo from there. My story actually started with a National Geographic cover back when I was 10 years old that featured a green turtle. And I had no idea at that point that these turtles actually existed in my own country, and we had the 2nd largest nesting grounds for green turtles in the world. That was just the deal breaker for me of, no, we need to save them, we need to protect them, because I finally got to see them and how majestic they were. And that's the story that I tell everyone, and that's the main reason one of the NGOs that I actually sit on has a logo of a turtle because I was very insisting that that needed to be there. But Paul, I'm sure there's a much more fascinating story than me seeing a turtle on a National Geographic cover. So how did you come about?
I don't know about more fascinating, but at a very similar age. When I was 11, I was 11.
Good.
Failing at school, didn't like school, couldn't translate the books and what was on the board and into action. Very frustrated time for a young boy of 11. And on television, I was watching Mike Nelson, who's a fictional character. There was Jacques Cousteau, there was Hans and Lottie Haas, who are real people, but Mike Nelson was a fictional character who was the hero in a television series called Sea Hunt. And every week he was having brilliant, adventures underwater, rescuing men from flooded mines, and any kind of adventure that could be happened underwater was Mike. And I felt he was speaking to me. Yeah. And I was glued to this thing on television. And he wasn't going to school. Yeah. So I thought, great, he's a diver. I would love to be a diver. All the beautiful women in the world wanted Mike to teach them to dive. And he was having genuine adventures. But it meant nothing, because I didn't know how. I grew up in London. How do you become a diver? How does this happen? And then a geography teacher, Mr. Gray, who I shall never forget, took me and my useless friends to Wales for what we know now as an outward bound course. And it was so transformational for me. I loved it. I realized I could do it. I'd never done anything like it before. I had a good eye for routes. I had a good head for the descents. Map and a compass was easy, and I absolutely cruised it. So I didn't know I was really going to be a professional diver. I didn't know I was going to be an explorer. But that moment, I knew my place in life was at the front line of nature or science or exploration or something like that. So Mr. Gray is the man I always thank.
Should thank Mr. Gray for that. Well, Chiara.
Yes.
Any similar story or something much more drastic that really kind of brought you into the realm?
Well, when I think of my childhood, I really think of spending any possible moment of free time out in nature. And my absolute favorite memory is climbing any tree out there. And I have to admit, I still do that sometimes. And even today, whenever I need to recharge, gain energy, nature really is where I go. Those are the nice memories. But I also remember living in California, being very young, and witnessing the wildfires and seeing the smoke rise from where we used to live, and fearing about the communities that were impacted by these horrible, horrible fires. And I remember writing letters to the people that lived there, and my parents telling me specifically that the community impacted also was a marginalized community, indigenous people who lived there, Native Americans who were impacted by these horrifying fires. And so I love nature. I want to protect it. I want future generations to have those childhood memories that I did out in nature. And to do that, we really need to actively take action to prevent climate change from progressing the way it has, because it is not a future risk. Climate change is here, and it's actively impacting my generation, how we study, work, build families, and envision our future.
Yeah, most definitely. Alfredo? Whimsical, reality, where do you sit with your story?
Somewhere in between. So there's probably some hallucination in the story as well. But when I was 7, so every year there was almost like a book shopping day in the school where I used to go to. And my mother will always buy us a book every year, and we had to be very careful on which book we selected. So when I was 7, I picked a book on seals, sea lions, and walruses.
Wow.
And I remember memorizing most of the book and everything. So 7, fast forward to when I was 18, I had grown up, forgotten that I wanted to be a marine biologist, and enrolled into a university that I will not disclose to study biotechnology. And one day I had this amazing experience in which in my high school they gave us the opportunity to go into the lab and create new types of genetically modified bacteria. It was not for me. So I went back home. I took off my application for that university, and I was there just like really, really sad, thinking about the future. And suddenly, this is the hallucination part, a ray of light showed me the book from when I was 7.
Wow.
And then I went to the bookshelf, and it was a little dusty, and I opened it, and I was like, I wanted to be a marine biologist. What happened? And so I went to my parents, and I said, you know what? I already took off my application to the other university. I'm going to be a marine biologist. And here is the university I want to go to in Mexico, and I have already submitted my paperwork. And I remember my mom saying, like, you know, I just have 2 questions for you. Mm-hmm. You suck at biology, and you don't know how to swim.
Oh.
So how is
You'll
this
have to
going
learn
to help?
both, yeah.
Yeah, and that was my answer. I was like, I will learn both. And here we are.
Wow, that's interesting. Well done. I think something in common that we have is shocking both parents by saying, yeah, I'm still doing marine biology. And they were like, no, I thought this was like just a phase when you were a kid. It's like, no, this is a lifelong dream. I will pursue it. And I remember after graduating with a bachelor's, my mom saying, so now you're going to medical school? Because that was her dream. So, but unfortunately, that dream never happened until my younger sister actually became the doctor. So I was like, oh, I'm off the hook for life. I will continue doing what I like, and that is protecting the planet, hopefully as much as I can. But Alfredo, I'll kind of sit with you a bit with what you said specifically in terms of, I think, even changing career paths to see what really speaks to you. And I think for a lot of younger people who are watching this broadcast as well, there's a question that comes into mind is, could we actually really genuinely protect the ocean at a real scale? Is that possible, or are we at a point of no return? Because this is a question you get asked a lot. And could we provide comfort or a reality check as well? What would your answer be?
Yeah, you know, this is something that has come up even in our team here.
Oh.
Like we have some younger people that have joined the team recently. And one of the questions that sometimes we get is like, but are we changing anything? Are we going to get somewhere? And I can tell you from the most genuine bottom of my heart that there's hope. Yeah. We should not be giving up because there's no reason to give up. And let me just give you a few examples. In the last, let me make the numbers. In the last 6 years, we have been able to work with over 850 startups that many of them working with young people from all over the world that now have valuations that collectively go over $10, $12 billion. So just to put it in perspective, just 5 years ago, we were talking to probably 30, 40 startups and definitely not even in the millions of dollars. And so we know that the solutions are brewing. We know that we are getting there. We know that younger people are the ones driving the majority of this. The second thing which will never make me lose hope is that we are seeing that more and more people, not only the marine biologists, but now also the School of Businesses, the schools of business, the schools of law, the schools of environment, the schools of economics, they are starting to pay attention to these issues. And we have seen a few of those groundbreaking scientific publications. But also we have seen some of those new models that make it into Silicon Valley, that make it into whatever in the world you want to place that. But that really more people beyond the ocean, and in many cases beyond the forests, are starting to pay attention to these issues because that's life. That's what connects us to life. And so just to summarize, I will never give up on hope. I think we have brilliant people that have worked on this for a while. And we also have brilliant people that are bringing skills and knowledge from many other realms of society to start addressing these issues more and more.
So the answer is yes, it is possible to protect the ocean or save the ocean at real scale.
And to capture it in a sentence, one of our slogans that we use frequently in the ocean team here is that the solutions are ready, are we ready?
Yeah. Which brings me to Chiara specifically, because you did mention something in your earlier remarks on young people they want this. Climate action is something that they really believe in. They want to really fix this. I mean, we both are in the same camp, so I'm not saying something that's different. But I mean, for the young people they're basically living an environmental crisis that is unlike any other, even if we go back to Paul and Paul's parents' generations. Yeah. So how do you actually see them kind of reconciling that? And what are those actions that at least the ones who are not yet taking action can take today?
That's a great question. And maybe to add to that, right, climate change is here, and we're seeing it beginning to reverse those developmental gains that many societies have considered linear from, it's been largely a global story of progress, reducing extreme poverty, improving food security, expanding access to clean water, et cetera, et cetera. And now climate shocks like the heat wave that we experienced here in Europe last week, and that's still kind of ongoing, is putting that at risk. And if we look at the number and the data, it's really scary, because if we look at the recent World Bank report, it warns us that climate change is going to push millions of people back into poverty, reducing food security, water stress, displacement, health risks, etc. And I'm mentioning this because this creates a real emotional burden for young people. It creates anxiety, it creates frustration, it creates a sense of helplessness. And so this is something that I felt myself, I've seen in my friends across the Shapers community and beyond. But at the same time, we're not just witnesses. And so coming to your question, we're experiencing this. But at the same time, this also makes us solution builders. Yeah, and that is exactly in line with what you were mentioning earlier as well. We young people are not just witnesses. Through entrepreneurship, through community action, activism, policy work, and science, we are trying to not stay passive, but take the action necessary to save our planet. And so for me, really the defining challenge of our generation is not simply coping with the challenges that we're facing, but it's learning to turn concrete concern into action and take mission on the ground. And I think the Global Shapers community is a great example of that. It turns this anxiety into agency and into solutions that are implemented in our local communities.
Yeah. Well, 100%, and I totally agree with you. Going into Paul, I mean, we did talk about the fact that you were an explorer. You've been to the Arctic, Antarctic several times throughout the years. What changes have struck you the most, and how do you report back? Because sometimes, like, it causes a lot of anxiety when you're like, oh, this is really bad. Like, so how do you kind of tell that story in a way that really gets that person to go into action rather than just feel despair and that's it?
Yeah, thank you. Well, my first trip to Antarctica was 1990.
Yeah.
And prior to that was up in the Arctic. So it felt both those places very remote, very difficult to get to, take a long time to get there. So one big change is that they're much more accessible now.
Yeah.
It's quite simple even to get to Antarctica these days, as long as you just want to get to the edges. So,
is it
really
good, is it bad? That's something that I will follow up on.
Yes, so it's now easier to get to, partly because of climate change, because ships have got more access, and partly because of the volume of growth in people getting down there. So it's changed a lot, and inevitably climate change, we can see it. Areas that I used to have camps on and used to have ice study camps on are now open routes for tourist ships.
Wow.
Things like that. And of course, certain glaciers, you realise, well, there's a glacier here, it's disappeared, the amount of snow, the amount of sea ice occurring. So that's really changed an awful lot. But one thing that hasn't changed is the sense of the place. The sense of being in the polar regions is incredibly powerful.
Oh.
There's nothing like it. There's a lot, I'm here in Geneva, but there's a lot of me at the moment in the Arctic and in Antarctica. It's never changed. And the other thing that's changed an awful lot is communication. You meant about the need, the anxiety to get messages out.
Yeah.
Well, in my early explorations, science explorations, we would find significant findings and the science team would be, we need to get this out. But it would be months before we could get that message out. In those days, we were using HF radio, Morse, telex. We were getting some messages with satellite phones, depending where we were, but very brief messages. And it was so difficult to get a message out. And it wasn't long ago, at the first COP in Copenhagen, I was leading a project on the Taylor Glacier in Antarctica, on the dry valleys, climate change project, searching for ancient methane. And we set up with all of the agencies and press in Copenhagen that they could do a live call to us, to Jeff Severinghouse, one of the great climate scientists in the world, during COP. So we all stood by. It took a lot of setting up.
Wow.
We didn't get one call.
Wow.
Now that's changed now because people speak. We speak now to scientists, and when we're in the field, we speak to the. But that's an enormous change. So it's the climate, the access, and the communication.
I agree with you. Like, people take you more seriously now because I think also the power of social media, you're able to see it versus before. I mean, my Antarctic adventure and expedition was over 10 years ago. And at that point, you only had a satellite phone. There was no internet. And the anxiety that I induced on my parents because I disappeared for 3 months and they heard nothing was quite insane. So I could only imagine at way more earlier than that in the 1990s, how that could have been even more inducing when it comes to that. But then I'll bring it to a question that I actually have in terms of a challenge. But before going into that, I have a question for Chiara specifically. If you could tell us a bit about the initiative that you have on the plastic action and how anyone else could be part of this, specifically shapers who are listening.
Yes. So this is a flagship new initiative of the Global Shapers community together with GPAP, the Global Plastic Action Partnership of the World Economic Forum, that really aims to turn plastic pollution commitments into concrete action. And this is an incredibly powerful initiative because it combines a global problem with local solutions. Through combining it with the global shapers who are ingrained in their local communities, driving action towards solving the plastic challenges that they're facing. And they're doing this across the entire world, from Lagos in Nigeria, to Dhaka in Bangladesh, to Turin, Italy, to China. Everywhere, shapers are participating. We have over 80 hubs participating right now, and we only launched 3 months ago. So that shows how great the demand is to tackle plastic pollution. And also, plastic pollution is very, very different based on which community you are in, right? Turin, Italy is going to have different experiences as opposed to Lagos in Nigeria. So what we're seeing is that shapers bring that know-how, the knowledge on how to best tackle the challenges they are facing. And we're connecting that with the network of GPAP and the expertise. And so if you're a shaper interested in joining, please reach out to us. You can follow #GenerationCircular, where we will be showcasing some of the incredible projects that shapers have been working on over the past few months in the next days to come. But you'll also find more information there about the initiative and how you can join with your hub in your community, and where you can access resources to learn more about, hey, what can I do beyond picking up trash? What are upstream circular solutions?
Magnitude of things that you could be part of. So because we're short on time, I have one last question in less than a minute each. I'll start with you, Alfredo. If you could put one challenge in the hands of every young leader, what would that be for the next decade?
I think that there's a few of those challenges, but all of them come back to the same one, which is it is not enough to come up with a solution in isolation. You need to think and understand how everything around you works, operates, connects. And just to give you a very brief example, when the UN Ocean Decade, which runs from 2021 to 2030, was starting, we were 200 people in the room. Only 4 of us were under the age of 30.
Wow.
Clear gap. In 10 years, a lot of us are going to be leading global programs. So we thought about the 2 structural changes that needed to happen. On the one hand, more organization of young people through the Early Careers and Professionals program. On the other end, changing of governance and bylaws of several professional societies to create the space for those early career people. So the message is be bold, thinking about the whole context, and really get closer to some of those initiatives that are providing inspiration. A quick commercial is, in our case, we have something called the Friends of Ocean Action, where a lot of young people participate, and we want to empower them also to be working in those bigger spheres.
Find Alfredo, connect with him if you're interested in being part of this. Paul, what would be your challenge?
My challenge would be never underestimate the value of setting a good example. Because when we speak to young ones, and I meet all these young ones consistently, I realize that the values that they are demonstrating and the principles that they are living by are having an effect. Because business leaders, influencers, politicians, chief execs of companies are looking at these young ones displaying these values and principles and thinking, hey, if I want to stay in a job and keep this thing profitable or stay in my position of influence, I'm going to have to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
So when we speak about, say, young leaders, I say, hang on. You already are leaders. People are listening because you're proudly demonstrating your principles and values in everything you do. So never underestimate the value of setting a good example.
And Kiara, very quickly before we conclude.
Yes. Don't simply cope with environmental challenges. Learn to take that concern, turn it into agency, and turn that agency into action. I know this sounds a little bit too positive, but it helps doing so with a community. Build the partnerships necessary, mobilize the volunteers, test solutions, fail, learn forward, and then work with the resources you have, but also claim that seat at the table, because no, we're not the future leaders. We're leaders right now, and we are here to secure our future as well. So also my wish to other generations, invite us to not just be stakeholders on a seat, but to really build these solutions together.
And bring the expertise in it.
Yes.
And thank you so much for all three of you. It has been such a phenomenal conversation. If it was up to me, we would go on forever, because it's a favorite topic of mine, with three people who are very knowledgeable about this topic. To conclude, I think a message to everyone is to keep in mind the word hope. And something that I always live by is despair is basically a luxury that oceans cannot afford. So in order for us to actually move ahead with a lot of actions, hope is the word. One step after the other. Even though you feel like that anxiety is coming in, just take on one action after the other. And the moment we galvanize more and more people, would be able to actually make a big difference, because it is actually real, as you heard from the panel. Well, thank you so much, and back to you, Kule.
Thank you so much to our wonderful panel. I think that was really a great conversation that left me with a lot to reflect on. I think Alfredo's point about don't come up with solutions in isolation definitely is something that I think we should all follow, and it's a value we live by here at the World Economic Forum based on our multi-stakeholder approach. How about you?
Yes, I felt very positive that there are increased engagement from the youth in these kind of discussions. For example, the Friends of Ocean Action was mentioned. And I was connecting the dots where Global Shapers community was actually able to provide a safe space. Mm-hmm. Solution is not something that would just come out on its own. There's a safe space where the Global Shapers is able to provide on failing, trying out different things, sharing best practices, coming up with local solutions and how to apply that globally. So that was kind of the message that I was able to hear.
Yeah, and I think we both need to ask Paul when he's taking us to the Arctic, because I want to go. That sounded very cool. Online, we see lots of Global Shapers tuning in from India, the Abuja hub, the Chicago hub, the Angola hub. So please leave your comments leave your thoughts, reflections in the comments section. We definitely want to hear what you think, so that we can keep the conversation going. And I think in conclusion, there's a reminder that while the scale of the challenge can feel overwhelming, meaningful action still begins locally and always to lead with agency and hope over anxiety.
Yes, and that is actually one of the recurring themes throughout the summit, and the importance of community-led action. And we just saw firsthand and how community-driven actions are impacting different agendas, including the ocean. So many of the most innovative responses to global challenges begin with people identifying a need in their own communities and deciding to do something about it. And we're able to witness that. To just continue this positive spirit from the panel, we would like to also show you a special message from Sally Higgins, who's the COP31 Youth Climate Champion this year. So let's hear what she has to say.
Hi everyone, I'm Sally Higgins, the COP31 Presidency Youth Climate Champion. My job is to connect children and young people from all over the world to international climate policy and to the COP31 Presidency team. Climate change is already impacting the lives of children and young people all over the world. I'm a farmer from Allera, a small town in regional Australia, and I see climate impacts firsthand: hotter days, unpredictable rainfall, floods and more intense storms. But this isn't just happening on my farm, it's happening all around the world, and it's costing our young people and children their health, safety and future opportunities. But in my role as the Presidency Youth Climate Champion, I have seen something powerful. Young people everywhere are stepping up, taking action to address climate change, building solutions, driving innovation, and creating change in their communities, across industries, and within the systems around us. And some of the most powerful leadership that I have seen is happening at the community level, in places like the Pacific, where climate action is rooted in culture, connection to land and to ocean, and in a collective resilience. Our communities show us that the most effective solutions aren't always the biggest or the loudest. They're the ones that are local, inclusive, and led by the people who live the reality of climate change every day. So as the Presidency Youth Climate Champion, you can think of me as your connector, linking the incredible leadership of young people on the ground to the international spaces where decisions are made and where the direction is set. My focus is to strengthen the role of children and young people in climate action, moving beyond consultation, but towards genuine partnership, ensuring that young leaders aren't just part of the conversation, but a part of shaping and delivering solutions. So my message to young people everywhere is this: start local. Start with the places that have shaped who you are: your community, your land, your river, your ocean, your park, your beach. Because climate action doesn't happen in conference rooms, it happens in the places that we call home. And for me, that's on my farm and in my community. But where is that for you? What place in nature do you love? What do you want to protect and enjoy, not just now, but into the future, for our children's future and for our grandchildren's future? So we need to speak up about the places that we care about, to protect them, to show others why our future depends on them. And as we head into COP31 in Turkey, this is our moment to lift ambition, to back youth leadership with real action, resources and power. So the opportunity is here, and so is the responsibility. Let's not wait for the future, let's change it together.
I mean, such a powerful message that we heard there from Sally Higgins, really encouraging us to start local with the change in the communities that we care about. Is there any change locally that you've kind of seen in the Global Shapers community, or something that you're working on personally?
Yes, so I think just connecting back to what Sally was mentioning, there are a lot of efforts that we've heard so far during interviews or the panel. The Global Shapers are driving either clean air, plastic actions, ocean, etc. And Sally just gave us a great idea on how the Global Shapers community can take it forward in global forums like COP31 or annual meeting in Davos, where we are able to showcase the value of young perspective, at the same time how local solutions are being able to feed into different global discussions that's being done in those kind of forums. So that would be kind of what I was hearing from Sally.
Yeah. We'd also love to hear what you guys are saying online. I see here that Krunal is saying that just by thinking we are not living on rent, we're not basically living on rent on this planet, but we are the owners of the planet, and if we do not fix it, no one else will. We also have Kirthan saying that, you know, young people are not future leaders, they're leaders today. So we'd love to keep the conversation going. Please drop your comments and share your thoughts. And I think overall, despite the scale of the planetary crisis, we see a lot of momentum. It was great to hear a lot of the solutions coming out of the panel, and even some of the work that Sally's doing. And especially, I see a generation that is standing up with solutions beyond just advocacy to actually real innovative projects on the ground.
I fully agree, Kule. And what Sally was saying also about not only us, but our future generations, our grandson, what kind of planet do we really want to inherit to the future generations? That's still coming. So that was kind of a powerful message there. And that's the exact kind of momentum that Sally and the panel we discussed, momentum that we need to convert passion into structural leverage. Speaking of it, we actually want to check live on the on-site with Abhinav on-site to see how other people are thinking about what we just discussed. So over to you, Abhinav.
Good afternoon, Kule and Eric. From a very sunny afternoon, the sun came out bright and strong as we approach the end of the day today at the Global Shapers Summit. And yes, what an inspiring panel. We also have some shapers here with me who are actually turning all those anxieties towards actually action in their hubs. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Evan. I am the proud curator of the Washington, D.C. hub.
And what are you doing locally with your hub when it comes to moving towards action when it comes to climate and nature? We just had a panel on this, so curious to hear what shapers are doing locally.
Absolutely. What we're doing locally is creating sustainable systems. So our project is called the Hot Meal Grant Program. It's going to be starting next month. And what we'll be doing is we'll be paying restaurants to package what will become leftover food or food waste into ready-made meals they'll be given in the community fridge in one of the more under-economically developed parts of our city.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining, and hope you have a good afternoon here in Geneva.
Thank you.
Who do we have next? Where are you joining us from?
Meet you. I'm joining you from Genova, Italy. I'm the new curator for this Northern Italy hub.
Excellent. And today all the shapers here had these leadership workshops to take these learnings back to their hubs. Yeah. What is one thing that you learned today in those workshops?
One thing I learned today is how to communicate better, how to make people understand your message, and how to make complex idea as simple as possible to make the connection easier with my other friends waiting for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Karina Delgado from Mexico City Hub.
Awesome. So as a global shaper, it's really important to build relationships with your hubs. What have you learned today by kind of connecting with other shapers from all over the world? How will you take that towards building more relationships for your hub with the rest of the global shaper communities?
Yeah, we try to be part of the events and make more for projects to invite the communities and do different things that the community have the opportunity to participate in the Global Shapers team too.
Thank you so much. Have a nice afternoon. And we have our last shaper for the afternoon. Where are you joining us from?
Hello everyone, I'm Biagio Di Benedetto, Community Manager for Italy.
Great. And so the World Economic Forum has a lot of resources and tools for the shapers to really leverage and build kind of innovation and growth and resilience in their communities. What kind of resources from the World Economic Forum do you think could really benefit the shapers community?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great resources, and of course, I knew some of them before coming to this summit, and I've discovered many more in these past few days. One tip that I want to give to all the shapers watching: please read the newsletter because there's so much information there, and it's wonderful. We saw yesterday the crowning of the Innovation Prize winners, which was fantastic, which was inspiring. I think I heard great ideas that I also want to discuss with my hubs to make sure that maybe we can replicate those same projects potentially in Italy in general. And I think what I found most interesting, I was attending a panel today where they also unveiled some new tools that they're working on to help us in expanding our impact by contacting all the people in the forum. So watch out for that. There's great news coming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon. Yes, Kule and Eric, the Shapers energy continues, and back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Avinav. It's always great to hear how shapers are learning and thinking already how to take this back to their own hubs. And I would actually encourage to resonate with some of the shapers that was mentioned to read the newsletter. That's where you get all the information about what's happening on Global Shapers community. And also, I'd like to just add there are multiple tools that shapers can use, like strategic intelligence, forum spaces, the forum provides. So there are digital resources available there as well. But I wanted to also ask kind of your thought on what you heard from the shapers.
I just think amazing breadth of actually topics relating to the climate issue, from kind of food waste and many other things that Global Shapers are working on. So just an encouragement. There's actually no project that's too small or no project that's too creative for us to drive solutions.
Amazing. So now it's time for us to have a look at the first set of videos from our Proudly From My Home campaign?
I am very excited about this. I think it's one of my favorite moments because over the past few weeks, global shapers from around the world have shared short videos showcasing the places that make their cities unique, from iconic landmarks to hidden gems and the communities that bring them to life.
And each one is a personal invitation and a chance to answer one simple question. Why should your fellow shapers come and visit your city? So let's take a look.
Welcome to Lucknow!
Namaste.
Adab. My name is Rahul and
We are
Global Shaper from Lucknow, India.
A city where culture, heritage and cuisines comes together in perfect harmony.
Recognized around the world for its rich culinary traditions, Lucknow was officially designated as a UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy on World Cities Day. From melt-in-your-mouth Galauti kebabs to rich traditional dessert, every flavor reflects centuries of histories and culture. This is one of the places we are most proud of from our home. And we are very excited to share it with the Global Shaper community.
मुस्कुराइए, आप लखनऊ में हैं.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Bolanwa, the incoming curator of the Global Shapers Community Ibadan Hub. And this is Mapo Hall, a 97-year-old colonial-style city hall sitting on Oke Mapo, the highest of Ibadan's 7 hills, watching over a city of over 4 million people. From here, you see everything: the rooftops, the market, the mosque, and even the churches. It's a symbol of a city that has always known how to hold many words at once. What makes this place special is that it's not just a landmark, it's where Ibadan gathers. 24 kings have been crowned here. Nigeria's founding fathers once met within these walls to shape a nation, and today, families still come here just to sit, look out and feel proud of where they are from. The drumming, the festivals, the way strangers greet each other like family tell the story of a city that is ancient but alive. And this hill is where you feel it the most. This is Ibadan, and Ibadan is proudly home to one of the hubs of the Global Shapers community. But most importantly, I am proud to call this home.
Welcome to Goa, a place where nature and culture are deeply interconnected. My name is Pranali Naik and I am the curator of the Panji Hub of Global Shapers community. While Goa is celebrated for its stunning beaches, its beauty extends far beyond the coastline. From lush green forests to rich biodiversity, these landscapes support local communities, sustain wildlife, and help preserve the region's ecological balance. What makes Goa truly unique is the way nature shapes its everyday life. From traditional fishing and farming practices to local festivals and community traditions, the natural environment remains at the heart of Goan culture and identity. These spaces are not only a source of beauty and pride, but also a reminder of our shared responsibility to protect them for future generations. For me, this is the essence of Goa, a place where people, culture, and nature exist in harmony.
Hello from Changsha, China.
We are Global Shapers from Changsha Hub. Today, we wanted to introduce 2 places that really capture the spirit of Changsha.
This is Dufu River Pavilion, built on the Dufu, one of China's greatest poets.
Standing by the Shan River, it connects poetry, history, and landscape of Changsha.
But Changsha is not only about history, it is also young, lively, and full of flavor.
This is Wenheyou, a place that recreates the street food and the everyday memories of old Changsha. Here, you can feel the warmth of local life, people eating, talking, laughing, and sharing stories.
It is also where young people are always creating something new.
From the quiet river and poetry to the busy streets and the local flavors,
Changsha is a city where tradition and youth
Live
together.
This is Changsha, our home, our pride.
Hi, my name is Gideon Anasma. You can call me Mr. Smart. I'm from Ghana, Cape Coast Hub. Here is a place that I'm most proud of from my home, the Elmina Castle. A lot of history. Stay tuned. The Elmina Castle is also known as the St. George's Castle. It was built in the year 1482 by the Portuguese, later taken on by the Dutch, and later by the British. This place was just to trade in gold with the locals, but later it was used to trade slaves to other countries. The dungeons hold tragic stories that always get people in tears. The male and female dungeons, exactly. These dungeons held several slaves, millions and thousands of them, before they were shipped on to the next. And this is the famous door of no return, where our ancestors went through and never came back to their land. Visitors leave these wreaths to honor our ancestors and their memories. Today, the castle is a beacon of hope, and right behind it is a great Atlantic Ocean, and in front of it is the famous Elmina Lagoon. Buildings leading to the Elmina Castle always have these paintings and murals that tell our history, our story, where we came from, who we were, and these buildings, each of them, carry history. This is one of the places I'm proud of from my home, and I'm glad to share it with the Global Shapers community.
Hello Shapers, Namaskar. I am Omkar Shinde, an upcoming Impact Officer of Global Shapers Community Kolhapur Hub. Today, I want to share one of the most inspiring places from my city, the New Palace of Kolhapur. Built as a symbol of rich heritage of Kolhapur, this place represents the history, our culture, and identity of our region. But for me, it is much more than a beautiful historical structure. The new palace reminds us of the vision of Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj, a leader known for his progressive thoughts and efforts towards education, equality, and social development. What makes this place unique is the way it connects our past with our present. The architecture reflects our tradition, while the values connect with this place continues to inspire young people to create positive change in society. This is the place I am most proud of to share from my home. I am excited to share it with Global Shapers community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Arkanet, and I'm the incoming curator from the Fukushima Hub. And then?
Hi, I'm Yuya. Also, I'm an incoming vice curator in Fukushima Hub.
Today, we are actually volunteering as an interpreter at Tour de Fukushima, which is an international cycling event held here in Fukushima. Many people from the world know Fukushima because of the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and the nuclear power plant disaster. But Fukushima is so much more than that. 15 years later, a lot of people from the world are gathering here again. Athletes, volunteers, local residents, and visitors are working together to create something meaningful. What makes Fukushima so much special to me is not only its recovery, but its people.
Even in rural communities where life can sometimes be challenging, people are all equally welcoming and always ready to help one another. The spirit of connection with silence and kindness is what really represents Fukushima. This is the places I am most proud of from my home, and I'm excited to share it with the Global Shapers community.
Bye-bye!
Hi everyone, I am Dai Qian from the Global Shapers community, Shanghai Hub. Many think turning research into products is slow and hard, but in Linjiang, we're changing that. Around Dishui Lake, young tech communities are thriving. Big companies guide smaller teams, labs connect directly to factories, and ideas become real products fast. From student to founder, it's just one step away. Linjiang gives me rent-free offices, talent apartments, and a community of young people who believe tech can change the world. This isn't a place for someday, it's ready for you now. This is one of the places I'm most proud of, and I'm excited to share it with the Global Shapers.
Wow, cool. That was amazing.
It was.
I feel like I've been on a 2-week vacation and just came back to reality.
Right.
Have you been to any of these cities?
I have not been to any of these cities, but I mean, I want to go travel everywhere, but especially since I'm a foodie, to Lucknow and Changsha in China. I didn't know that actually Lucknow is known as a UNESCO gastronomy city. How about you?
Yes, no, I've also never been to any of the cities, sadly, but I will take this as an invitation to visit the cities. I was particularly motivated to go to Changsha as well. I studied in China before and wanted to really visit the city and never had the chance. But we'll take up the invitation, thankfully, and then visit all of them in the future for sure. Well, next up, we are shining a spotlight on 2 global shapers who are helping turn ideas into impact through some of the community's most meaningful initiatives.
Prandihi Swane and Dana Shukribayeva are leading efforts to tackle air and plastic pollution while connecting local action with global outcomes, really showing how change begins in communities but can then have far-reaching impact. Let's tune in to hear what they had to say.
Hello everyone, I am Dana Shukirbayeva and I'm proud to be a core collaborator of the Shapers for Plastic Flagship Collaboration. Plastic pollution is one of the defining challenges of our time, but it's also one of the greatest opportunities for collective action. Around the world, young people aren't just experiencing this crisis, they are already creating solutions. They bring fresh ideas, deep local knowledge, and the determination to turn ambition into action. That's why we are building a global movement of young leaders taking action on plastic. Every community is different, but every community has the power to make a difference. My invitation is simple. Start where you are. Launch a local initiative, learn from other global shapers hubs, share what works, and build on each other's successes. Together, hundreds of local actions can become one powerful global movement, creating lasting change for people and the planet. Join us and let's shape a future with less plastic and more possibility.
Hi, I'm Pranidhi Sahani, core collaborator for the Equal Air Initiative. Together with the forum's Global Future Council on Clean Air, the Equal Air Collaborative offers a pivotal moment for intergenerational partnership to build healthier and more inclusive societies. By mobilizing more than 100 hubs worldwide, we are building momentum to put young people at the heart of action for clean air. Equal Air is about turning the urgent challenge of air pollution into practical, youth-led local action. Through this initiative, we are mobilizing global shapers and local communities to identify clean air challenges and develop solutions across 3 main areas: data monitoring, greening spaces, sports, and physical activity. I strongly feel youth must be at the center because they are the ones who bring the urgency, creativity, and local trust needed to design solutions that will work. So if your city or local community is deeply impacted by air pollution, or if you're passionate about moving the needle on the ground on clean air action, come work with us. Let's work together to make clean air a reality for every community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana and Pranidhi. That definitely leaves an impression. We are able to see how shapers are driving impact by turning ideas into actions on microplastics, clean air. So for young change makers watching right now, if you're really passionate about taking action to restore our planet, but didn't know where to start, now you have the answer.
Absolutely, and I think this is a great opportunity for those of you online to take the Youth Pulse survey, share your thoughts on everything you've heard today. We want to hear from you. There should be a QR code popping up on your screen right now. Just scan it and then follow the instructions.
Perfect, and with that, we come to the end of the first day of the Next Generation Now Youth Dialogue 2026. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed the conversations and was able to stay connected with the inspiring work happening across the Global Shapers community.
Absolutely, and we will be back tomorrow. The fun is not all over yet. We'll be here at 1 p.m. Central European Summer Time for a session on entrepreneurship for a new era. If you're passionate about entrepreneurship and creating impact in your community, you won't want to miss it.
Until then, we encourage you to continue the conversation online and share your reflections from today's discussion. See you tomorrow.